Kalkadosh Boker Or Masechet Avodah Zarah Daf Yomi Daf Yudbet Amud Aleph. We were talking about V'ika de Amre. We're going to start in 11b just on the bottom where it says V'ika de Amre. Some people say Babin Yeru Shimon Lakish Rabbi Hanina. Ask Shimon Lakish from Hanina Atloza Shel Azza. We're talking about an Itliz, which is a meat market of Azza. What is the halacha? Right? Because at the end of the day, when you have two places close to each other, right? So he comes and he says, right? Okay, whether it's going to be that is it going to be permitted to do business there or not. So Elmaleh, he says, Lo lachta letzor miyamecha. He says, why you didn't go to Tzor? Tzor, you also had Jews and you also had non-Jews. That you saw that the Jews and the non-Jews that they're even cooking on the same stove. And Chachamim never said anything. So what does that mean? What does that mean? Chachamim didn't say anything. Amar Abaye says, Mishum besar nevela. Right, because of basar nevela, lo amrina dilma ma'adera pe Yisrael la'achoreh. Because maybe we're going to say that the Jew will turn around, v'shadi oved kochim nevela b'gdera, and then all of a sudden the goy will throw a piece of nevela inside the pot. Meaning like this: you've got two pots. One of them is kosher, one is not kosher. Why don't we say that the second that the Jew goes like this, all of a sudden, whoops, he's going to throw another piece of non-kosher meat in there? The kavateh hachanami, that we do see such a thing by other things. Right? He says, Lo chashu chachamim mishum demei avdei kochavim. But they didn't suspect because of, right, the money of avdei kochavim, which is assuming a Torah. Which means that since at the end of the day, we're not talking about something which is an Isur Torah, right? So therefore the safek is maybe he's going to come and do a chagiga and so on. So they didn't suspect for such a thing. Meaning the rabbis did not suspect that right now what's going to happen is that the non-Jews going to come and start serving Avodah Zarah, or doing other things. Gracias. Okay. 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 So that's going to be the first explanation. Rava comes and he says, we're not going to suspect that the goy is going to come and throw a piece of nevela inside of it. Right? He says, what does it mean, lo chashu chachamim? He says, mishum bishul of Avdei Kochavim, because of the bishul of Avdei Kochavim. That's the explanation. He says, what does that mean? He comes and he says like this. He says, right? Because maybe they're so close, maybe if the Yisrael is going to be somech on the goy will come and cook the food for him. The kavatah chanami, that again, you have the same concept that you have a problem. Lo chashulam chachamim mishum yom edam. So therefore, they did not suspect because of Yom Edam, because it's only going to be Yisur D'Rabbanan. Which means when we come and we say that the money is going to be Mutamina Torah, so for example, let's say the Goy took it from his own kuppah, and they're not coming from another city, and so on and so forth, so they didn't come and start prohibiting things because of only Yisur D'Rabbanan, that maybe the Goy is doing Chag, and then you're going to be coming and using this. A third explanation, Rabbi Bar Ula Amar, what does it mean, Lo Chashulam Chachamim? He says, Mishum Tzinora. Because of the Gderat Akum, right? What does that mean? Sometimes it happens that when they're so close to each other, you have something that shoots out. Yeah, splash. It's like a backsplash that comes and splashes out from one kedera to another kedera. So therefore, you come and he says, we're not going to suspect that. The kavatah chenami, just like we're going to learn from here to do with the Sochrei Yisrael, right? That they're coming and they're doing business, they're not going to suspect because of lifnei edehen. Because it's an isur kal, meaning that 3 days beforehand is too much in order to come and start suspecting. So therefore, we're not going to come and suspect whatsoever for these things. So again, we were comparing the this shuk of tzor, that you had the pots together, right? And each one we were coming saying, Lo chashu chachamim, chachamim do not suspect for it over there. So either they didn't suspect for the splashing, they didn't suspect for the cooking, they didn't suspect for the nevela being thrown inside of it. So too, they didn't suspect for the money of Avodah Kochavim that it's going to be done through Avodah Zarah. That's what they say. Okay, 3 different explanations in what is Lo Chashu Chachamim, and 3 different explanations what would have been the Chashash. So Kakadosh says the 2 dots. Remember that here, Yeshecha Nekudotaim, Shezer Chozer al Mishnah. So the Mishnah says, Ma'u lelech l'sham. Are you allowed to go there? Because it's a miyuchad for Makom Asur. So are you allowed to go there? Imagine right now you have a street that's only going to Avodah Zarah. Are you allowed to go to that street? So he comes and he says like this. He says, Tanu Rabbanan, we learned in a Braita. עיר שיש בה עבודה כוכבים. When you have a city that has עבודה כוכבים, אסור להיכנס לתוכה, you're not allowed to go inside of it. ולא מתוכה לעיר אחרת, and not from it to go to another city. דברי רבי מאיר, these words of רבי מאיר. חכמים אומרים, חכמים כסקי, כל זמן שהדרך מיוחדת לאותו מקום, if it's going to be מיוחדת to that place, אסור. אם אין הדרך מיוחדת לאותו מקום, מותר. But if it's not מיוחדת, meaning like this, as long as I could go on that route, but I could go to a few places. So then it's mutar. Because מי אמר לך שאתה הולך לעבודה זרה? Maybe באמת you're going to the supermarket, right? Or to whoever it is. So therefore it's going to be mutar. Okay? ישב לו קוץ בפני עובדי כוכבים. What happens right now if a person has a thorn that got stuck in their foot, right in front of עובדי כוכבים? לא ישחה ויתלנה. Don't bow down to take it. because it looks like you're bowing down to עבודה זרה. ואם אינו נראה, now if right now, right? Im eno nireh, the Gemara is going to say, what does it mean im eno nireh? You can't see it. Can't see what? So it's going to be mutar. So says the Gemara, pazru lo ma'otav. What happens if money fell? Right, you got coins, right? You got a whole bunch of coins, and all of a sudden, right? Oops, it fell. It fell. So now, if I'm going to bow down, if I'm going to go down, it looks like I'm bowing down to the Avodah Zarah. So again, it's going to be a problem. Yeah, he says, right? If it doesn't look, it's going to be mutar. Well, again, we have to find out what does it mean. Right? Mayan. If you have a mayan which is going in front of the kochavim, mayan is a stream of water, right? Like a springs, right? Don't bow down to drink from it. You know, many times it's a mayan, it's a pure fountain water. So what you do is you go down and you take up water and you want to drink. But if you do that, it looks like you're bowing down to Avodah Zarah. Partsufot. We're talking about now. What a partsuf. Look at the partsufot. Yeah. He says, mekalchin mayim lekrachim. Right? When you're going to come and you're going to have the pisle partsufot of mekalchin mayim lekrachim. So he says partsufot. מה אנחנו מדברים? אנחנו מדברים על pisle partsufot of Adam, המקלחים מים לקרחים. Yeah, so he comes and he says in big cities, right, the Mizrakot Maim had tzurot of partzufei Maim, partzufei Adam. So they used to come from one place, one pesel to another pesel, right? And it used to come out of their mouths. Even until nowadays they do that. Yeah. So tomenet kilu yesh לך איזה pesel, ומהפה שלו יוצא את המים, right? From the mouth of the pesel comes the water. So he comes and he says, partzufot מקלחים מים לקרחים, לא יניח פיו על פיהם, don't drink it. They used to put their mouths like a water fountain, don't put it there. Right? Because it looks like you're kissing. Avodah Zarah. Kayotze bo, don't put it on the ground. Right? But there it's because of the sakana. Meaning if you're going to put it on the ground, your mouth on the ground to drink from like a thing, there could be an aluka. An aluka is like a type of, I don't know how you say it in English. It's like a type of a, not bug, but it's a type of like I forgot how you say it in English. It's an aluka. It's something dangerous. It's a sakana. It's mamash a sakana to drink. Fine. So now says the Gemara this. What does it mean? Eno nireh. What does it mean? Eno nireh? If it's not nireh, it's mutar. Which one? Leech. Exactly. So he says like this. If it's a kavanah that nobody could see him, this a lot of people they don't know. The second that something is a sur, mipnei maritain, so to mean it looks bad, so therefore afilu b'chadrei chadarim it's going to be a sur. Even if I'm in private. Mamash, ani b'chadr shali. It's a sur. Why? The maritain. Zot omeret, if you're going to tell me eno nid'a means a ben adam eno nid'a. כן, תחשוב, אני מסתכל, אף אחד לא רואה אותי. אז מותר לי עכשיו לנשק? אני לא מנשק, אני רק שותה מים, אבל זה נראה שאני מנשק עבודה זרה. Right? Or it looks like I'm kissing the Avodah Zarah. Or it looks like I'm bowing down to Avodah Zarah. So, but he says, afilu b'chadrei chadarim, it's going to be asur. Ela ema, but rather, im eno nireh kemishtachave l'avodah kochavim mutar. It's not eno nireh ala ben adam. Im eno nireh shata mishtachave. בדיוק, את הפעולה הזאת. זאת אומרת, the action that I'm doing doesn't look like I'm bowing down to Avodah Zarah. So as long as it doesn't look that I'm bowing down to Avodah Zarah, it's going to be mutar. Utzricha, now we needed all these cases. Why do we need all these cases? היה לך את הקייס של הקוץ, היה לך את הקייס של התפזרו לו מעותיו, מעיין, היה פרצופות, היה... Why do you have so many cases? He says, Utzricha, you need all of them. Why? תנא קוץ, משום דאפשר למזל, right? קמה ומשקלה. Because you just move away and then take it out. I mean, the guy has a thorn in his foot. Move out of the way and then take it out. Why are you taking it out? Mamash mula avodah zarah. It looks like you're being avodah zarah. Aval maot, but money, you can't do that. So the minute a kotz, תלך 5 מטר, כן, כמה מטרים, go over there, take out the קוץ, תוציא את הקוץ. Here, הכסף נפל פה. אני הולך לשם, מה אני אאסוף? אני צריך לעשות את זה פה. אז בגלל זה, אז אני צריך את זה. אז אימה, I would say that לא אסור להתכופף, right? ובגלל זה צריך להגיד, לא, אסור להתכופף אם זה נראה שאתה משתחווה לעבודה זרה. ואיתן המעות, איפה זה מעות? It's money, ממונה. אבל קוץ תצרה, אימה, I would say that you're allowed to, right? Why? I would say, listen, money, חבל על הכסף, right? That's it.
אתה מוותר עליו.
אתה מוותר עליו. הקוץ זה צער, הוא מצטער, הוא לא יכול ללכת. מסכן, תן לו להוציא את הקוץ. No, we don't say that either. Right? That you don't say that, you know, that listen, that the guy is suffering and that he's going to take out the kots. And now he comes and he says, if I'm going to have these two of them, mishum deleka sakana. There's no sakana. What does that mean? By both of them, there's no sakana now. The guy could leave his thing over there, whatever, you know, his kots over there for another 2 minutes, or he could leave the money there. Nothing happens. Aval mayan, dika sakana, there is sakana. Tilo shati, if he's not going to drink, might, he's going to die. Meaning, it's very hot outside. There's a lot of people that are going to faint, right? All over the world, by the way. There were people, yesterday fainting, all over the place. Why? Because it's mamash. It's very, very hot. There's heat waves all over the place. So, Ema, I would say, right, Shalom, that they didn't osir. So, tzricha, that's why I needed all the 3 different cases, right, that we mentioned until now. Partsufot. Yes, right? 1 second. So, then let me just finish the topic. Right? You'd bet 12b. Partsufot lamali. Why do I need partsufot? Because I wanted to learn, meaning I didn't need partsufot. I needed the next halacha, which is the silon on the floor, because of the leeches. So because of that, I brought down partsufot. But really, I didn't need partsufot. I only needed 3. I didn't need the extra case. What is the sakana? Because of aluka. Okay, that's what we say. Says the Gemara, Tanu Rabbanan, we learned to the Braita, Lo yishte adam lo mina minarov, lo min ha'agamim, lo befiv, lo b'yedo achat. A person should never drink, not from the rivers, or not from the swamps, not with his mouth directly, and not with one hand. Because basically, when he drinks with one hand, he does it very, very quickly, so he doesn't, because he does it like this, very quick. Doesn't see. If he takes 2 hands, עכשיו פה הוא יכול לראות. אז הוא יכול לראות שזה נקי. Okay? ואם שתה, now if he does drink, right, from the swamps or the rivers, right? Damo birosho. Mamash, it's kilo, he's got his blood on his head. Why? Mibina sakana. Says the Gemara, my sakana. Mibina sakana, taluka. Sakana of the leeches. Masechet Rabbi Chanina, this is actually a proof to Rabbi Chanina. Damar Chanina says, a bolea nimo, nima shel mayim. If a person is going to drink a leech, mutar le'achem lo chamin b'Shabbat. You're allowed to heat him up chamin on Shabbat, because it's a mamash sakana nefashot. Because basically what they do is they want to kill the aluka in his intent with mayim chamim. Okay, so he comes and he says, right? He says here it's called the nima, but it's like a se'ar. It's like very, very small and everything, and it goes in the water. But he comes and he says the mayim, right? Mishalshalim et mi'av, gormim lo la'ki et ma sheshata. So therefore the aluka goes outside. So bekitzur, it's mamash sakana nefashot. U'maaseh be'echad shebela nimal shel mayim v'iti Rabbi Nechemia. Rabbi Nechemia says, go heat up water for him on Shabbat. Mamash techamem mayim b'Shabbat, techalel Shabbat, right? בשביל להוציא לו את זה. He could also be gomea chometz, right? In order that he shouldn't die quickly, right? Before the mayim is exactly. That means he has to come and he has to drink right away vinegar. Amar Ravidi Baravi Nahaiman de Bala Zibura. If somebody is going to be bolea atzira is a devora. How do you call it? A hornet, right? He says here, Michya lochaye. For sure he's not going to live. Miu leshaki reviata dechala shamgaz. He says, but give him a revi'it of very strong vinegar. At least he'll live a little bit. He wants to give a will, a testament to his family. Yeah, ממש, it's a פלא גדול. Yeah. So now he says, Tanu Rabbanan, we learned in the Braita, Lo yishte adam mayim balayla, never drink water in the nighttime. And if you did, damo b'roshom, sakana, because it's sakana. What's a sakana? Sakanat shavrireh. Shavrireh is the shed, a demon, which is memune al makat sanverim ivaron. So therefore he comes and he says, mamash, it's like a sakana. Now if a person is thirsty, what's he going to do then? So he says, if you got somebody else with you, you should wake him up and tell him, I have to drink water. right? Why? Because if you're right, the shit is not going to be pogea becha when you're found with somebody else. Remember the shedim when there's two people, right? They don't come that often, right? It could be they'll be seen, but they're not going to come and do something. Vilo, and if not, they karkesh benichtim achatzba. Come and start making noise. Because when you make noise, it sounds like there's somebody else with you. And then you should say to himself, Plana plania bar planita, amra lach imach, right? Your mother said, he's the har, mishavrure, berire, rire, yere, rei, bekase, chivare. You have to be careful from shvirere, brire, rire, yere, rei. Did you realize you're taking his name and you're cutting it down? You're doing a little. What are you doing exactly? Exactly. So it's a lachash. This lachash, every single time that you come and you take off one of his letters of his name, it's kilu atamema etet kocho. You're like minimizing his strength, right? With koso levano. So because of that, that's what you're supposed to say, right? And then you basically take away his strengths. Okay? Fine. Mishnah. Okay, we're going to do the Mishnah and Yud Bet Amud Bet. Says the Mishnah, Ir sheyesh ba avodah kochavim. When you have a city of avodah kochavim, vayu ba chanuyot meutarot v'shena meutarot. Now you've got a whole bunch of stores. Some of them are mekushatot for kvod of the Avodah Zarah, and some of them are not. Ze haya ma'aseh b'Beit. So this was a story in Beit Shan. V'amru chachamim meutarot tzurot. So you're not allowed to go into the ones which are mekushatot, but the ones which are not meutarot, you're allowed to go inside of them. Why? Because obviously you know the one of the Avodah Zarah or not. Yeah, 100%. So he says, Amad B'Shimon Lakish says B'Shimon Lakish, Loshanu ela keshmutarot bevered vadas. Only if they're going to be with vradim and adasim, but that's the shotchim that they put in front of the Avodah Zarah. The kamitane mirecha, because then they're benefiting from the reach of Avodah Zarah. Aval mutarot beperot, but if it's going to be some fruits or whatever it is, grains, mutarot, there's no problem. My time, what's reason? The Makab Pasuk says, you're not allowed to benefit from Avodah Zarah. Ne'nahu dasud. You're not allowed to have a na'ah. Aval mehane, but lehanot et avodah zarah is going to be mutar. Meaning you're not allowed to benefit from the avodah zarah, but to be mehane et avodah zarah, it's going to be mutar. So, for example, let's say you have a house that your next door neighbor is the avodah zarah. Now, if it's going to be that the wall falls down and you're going to now put up the wall, so that could be a asur, because then mamash you're adding on to the avodah zarah, and you're not allowed to benefit from the avodah zarah. But he comes and he says, but if it's going to be another case, so then it's going to be permitted. Okay.